ain't just a channel, this is BBTV.
It's Truthful Tuesday. No sugarcoating, no polite lies, just the kind of honesty that makes people nod slowly and rethink their life decisions. Let's talk about it.
A boss be rising, BBTV's igniting, turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited, from the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss be rising, sky ain't even the ceiling, when she hits go live, everybody feels it.
Welcome back. It's really me today. It's Truthful Tuesday, y'all. If you're new here, this is the day we don't sugarcoat it. We don't dance around it, and we don't pretend messy family dynamics are messy or aren't messy. We read the stories, we call it like we see it, and we try to find the truth sitting underneath all the chaos. And today's stories, oh my, we are talking about secrets, siblings, identity, and what happens when the truth finally comes out, whether everybody was ready for it or not. Now, I want to say something before we even get into this, though. Truth is uncomfortable. It's not tidy. It's not. You know it's not. It's not wait for the perfect timing. And, a lot of families survive for years on silence because silence feels easier in the short term. But what we're seeing today is what happens when silence expires, when the truth gets tired of being managed. And you know what? When the person who was kept in the dark decides they deserve answers, that's not villain behavior now. That's human behavior. And I think a lot of people watching today are going to relate to at least one piece of these stories. Maybe you grew up feeling like the extra. Maybe you found out something about your origin later in life that shocked you. Maybe it even shook you. So maybe you're the sibling who was protected a little too much, or maybe you're the one who had to carry the weight of the secret. So today, we're not just asking who's the a-hole, okay? We're asking bigger questions. Who was protected? Who was ignored? Who was told the truth? And who paid the price for adults trying to control a narrative? Because here's the thing about Truthful Tuesday. It's not about being dramatic. It's about being honest. And honest doesn't always feel good. But, it usually leads somewhere healthier than pretending. So buckle up, because we're diving right into a story about siblings and replacement dynamics and what happens when a big sister decides she's not going to let a 12-year-old blame himself for something that started before he was even born. After that, we've got a story that takes family secrets to a whole other level with identity, paternity tests, and a whole lot of emotional fallout. So if you're here for real conversations and not fairy tales, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. Well, thank you. It's actually Llama. That's what my granddaughter calls me, but Granny's okay too. That was my grandmother's name. Nice to meet you. Good to have you. All righty. Let's get into this first segment here. Now, here we go. So, am I the a-hole for telling my youngest brother the truth about everything? I, female 24. Oh, pardon me. I don't know why I'd forget to do these things, but here we go. Maybe it was the granny thing, because I love being called grandmother. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So, I, female 24, have a 26-year-old sister and a 23-year-old brother. We'll call Mason. I also have a 12-year-old brother we'll call Eli. And yes, I do change the names in this, and I am very careful of my language for my granddaughter's sake in case she ever watches this. So, just know that before you think it's about you, because it's not. And he's the reason for this conflict. When Mason was a kid, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but doctors didn't think he would make it to 12. Mason wasn't just the baby of the family, but also the only boy. Our parents really wanted a boy and always said it was a good thing Mason was a boy because they didn't want to have a fourth kid. You subbed like everyone should. Ah, that is so nice of you. Thank you so much. I love your name, by the way. I hope I say it right. Valeriana? That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I've never heard that before, and it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for subbing, and I'm glad you're here. Seriously. Okay, you see where this is going. Eli was born when Mason was at his sickest, and Mason knew Eli was supposed to be his replacement. Oh, see, now that's a dynamic that is hard to start with, a replacement. That's not nice. You don't replace your children. Okay, so Mason has been in remission for a decade, and he has always hated Eli. Our parents also don't dote on Eli like they did or do Mason. It's obvious to me that they regret him. They are perfectly adequate parents to Eli when Mason isn't around, but when he is, they ignore him so Mason doesn't get upset. That's a really tough dynamic here. Okay, next slide here. So on Thanksgiving, Mason said he was thankful for his parents and sisters. Eli was upset that he wasn't counted, and our parents ended up telling him off and sending him to his room. That's not nice, y'all. Eli has been miserable ever since. No wonder. He keeps asking me why Mason hates him. I decided he needed to know the truth. So he knew it wasn't anything he did. That's a good reason. He was sad after I told him, but he thanked me for being honest. Last night, Eli confronted our parents. They are furious with me. They demanded that I call Eli and tell him what I said was a mean prank. They said I had no right to tell anyone their business or make up horrible conclusions. I didn't make it up. I know the truth. Am I the a-hole for telling it to Eli? Okay. Before I get into an answer, there's also an edit to this one. I confronted my parents about the possibility many of you brought up. They denied it, but I don't know. A lot of what you said makes perfect sense. I didn't get anything out of them either way. Also, several of you think Eli wasn't a planned pregnancy. Multiple comments raised the possibility, so I'm not going to answer them individually. Eli was a planned pregnancy. Mom got on fertility meds. She was 39 and thought she would have difficulty conceiving. And she brought the pregnancy tests in a pack of 6, like she was planning on needing to take a test several times. They were not surprised in any way when she got pregnant. Okay, now that we know the whole story here, here's where I land on this. No, you are not the a-hole. I don't care how mad your parents are right now, because what happened at that Thanksgiving table, it told the whole story. When a 23-year-old man says he's thankful for his parents and his sisters and leaves out his 12-year-old brother, that's not subtle. That's intentional. And when the 12-year-old reacts and gets sent to his room instead of the grown adult being corrected, that shows exactly where the imbalance is in this family. Eli did not imagine that moment. He felt it. And kids don't need a detailed psychological breakdown to know when they are being left out. They just need someone to confirm they are not crazy. Now, I can absolutely acknowledge that Mason went through something traumatic as a child, okay? Being sick to the point where doctors did not think he would survive is terrifying. And that kind of fear shapes a family. But trauma that does not get processed turns into favoritism and overprotection. It turns into parenting, walking on eggshells around one child while expecting the other to just adjust. And if Mason grew up believing that Eli was some kind of replacement because of timing, that belief, it should have been addressed years ago. It should not still be controlling family dynamics a decade into remission, right? Now, the real issue here is that Eli asked why his brother hates him. That's not gossip. That's pain. That is a 12-year-old trying to understand. Hush. Pardon me, big dog. Get up here and stop that mess. Okay, so trying to understand why he feels unwanted in his own house. And if you had lied to protect your parents, you would have left him thinking he did something wrong just being born. No more barking, please. So you didn't feel bitterness. You did not tell him to hate Mason. You told him the truth so he would not hate himself. That matters more than anything. That matters. Your parents are angry because the truth forced a confrontation. They were able to maintain this delicate emotional balance as long as no one said it out loud. But the second that Eli confronted them, that balance broke. That does not mean you were wrong. It means the dynamic was fragile to begin with. If a family system collapses because someone tells the truth, okay, that system it's not healthy. Going forward, I would be careful not to tell Eli or let Eli carry adult resentment, because he does not need to be turned against his brother. He needs reassurance that he is wanted and valued, but giving him clarity so he understands this is not his fault. It's protective, okay? That is big sister behavior. So no, you're not the a-hole here. This family needs therapy, okay? Honest conversations and accountability. You didn't create this situation, you named it. And that's what they're angry about. Hi, Patty friend. Good to see you, sweetheart. I'm so glad to see you today. How are you? Look, I'm fine. I'm good. It's just seasonal stuff, and I didn't want to lose my voice, so I just played it safe for a couple of days. So, sometimes the person who names the problem gets blamed for the fallout, even though they did not cause the whole problem. And I think that's probably what the biggest part here is, and the worst part, because all I can see is a big sister doing what's right. That's my opinion. I'm not a professional, but I'm seeing the right way. You did it the right way. You did it the way your parents should have done it, and you're being more of an adult here than your parents were. Okay, so I had some comments too I thought we would get into because I liked them. So the first comment, your brother deserves to know what happened in the family before he was born. You've just behaved like a big sister. Besides, it's better that he knows it's not his fault or anything that he did that can lead to a lot of unnecessary self-hatred that he absolutely doesn't deserve. Amen, sis, or bro, whichever. Amen. Also, your parents could really use some therapy. Amen to that part too. They all do, I think, at this point. They don't seem aware of what they're doing and how badly it can affect Eli, or they know and they miserably dismiss it. Either way, not good. Amen to that. Yeah, I totally agree with this one, because I really love this comment because it's saying the quiet part out loud, right? Yes, Eli deserves to know, period. Period. You don't let a 12-year-old walk around thinking, that he's defective just to protect grown folks. That's their feelings, not his. You're trying to protect his, right? That's not loyalty. That's emotional neglect. It's negligence. You didn't gossip. You didn't weaponize information. You stepped in like a big sister and said, baby, this ain't on you. Ain't the therapy part? Come on. The therapy part needs to happen. Let's not tiptoe around this. Either your parents genuinely don't see what they're doing, which is wild, or they see it and it's easier to dismiss than it is to fix it. Both options are a mess, obviously. You cannot build an entire household around one child's fragility and expect the other one to just quietly absorb the impact. That's not how that works. So, yeah, the truth made people uncomfortable, but sometimes discomfort is the first step to growth. Silence would have been easier, but it would have left Eli thinking he was the problem, and he's not. And we need to remember that for Eli. That's crazy. That's just crazy to me. So here's another comment. It sounds like the parents should send Mason to therapy too, and I'm not inclined to give him a pass for incorrectly blaming his brother for his parents' actions. Okay, here's another angle. Even if he is in remission, it wasn't Eli's choice to be born. Here we go. This sits good. It was their parents' decision to replace their son when their sick son was still alive. Exactly. It's like they're not even pretending to treat their children as individuals or anything more than a reflection of themselves, regardless of the uh, per, permutation. Pardon me. There are a lot of forks in this situation. You know, that thing. But the original poster is definitely not one of them. You're right. There's a lot of, and that's not supposed to be forks. That was a edit. Pardon me. That was an editing issue on my behalf. A-holes is what I was trying with ChatGPT. We're not friends today. Just let me get over that for a minute. So this comment is not wrong, right? Correct? Mason absolutely needs therapy too. Being sick like that as a child is traumatic, no question. But trauma is not a lifetime hall pass to mistreat people. He is 23 years old. They didn't think he was going to live past 12. He doubled that and then some. And at some point, you have to separate what happened to you from how you choose to act now. Blaming Eli for existing is misplaced anger. Eli did not sign up to be born. He didn't apply for the role. That was the parents' decision. And if the parents created a dynamic where one child felt like a miracle and the other felt like a backup plan, ooh, that's on them. What bothers me is the idea that Mason still gets handled like he's fragile while Eli gets corrected for having feelings. How is that okay? That's not okay. That tells me that the hierarchy never shifted, okay? And when you raised kids as extensions of your own fear instead of as individuals, you end up with exactly this kind of mess. So yes, there are a lot of egg-holes floating around in this situation, right? But the original poster telling the truth to protect a 12-year-old, it's not one of them. No, absolutely not. All right, one more comment here. Think about it. Mason was 11 when their parents decided to do the deed and pop out another child. Original poster mentioned that he was the sickest at that point. Not to mention a newborn cries at late night. Parents were caring for Eli when Mason was potentially dying. Mason would see Eli as replacement as a child. Probably he felt that when he dies. No one will even miss him as Eli is here, you know? There may be an English issue here, but that's okay because I think I get the point. It says Mason seriously needs therapy, man. The parents don't deserve to have kids. I don't think after a few Thanksgivings they're going to have dinner together anymore. I mean, can you disagree with that, really? And if you didn't understand, let's just put it here. This comment adds some depth, and I appreciate that. Imagine being 11 years old, very sick, hearing adults whisper about whether you're going to make it. And then suddenly, there's a newborn in the house. That's got to be crazy, right? A child's brain could absolutely interpret that as a replacement. Especially, you know how children are when a younger child comes and they see the other one gets more attention. Because it's a baby, it needs more attention. It's not as self-sufficient, right? That fear could root deep. That fear is from the moment of conception of Eli, right? From either one. This should have been said from the very beginning. Or maybe nothing should have ever been said in front of children. So, yeah, I can have compassion for 11-year-old Mason here too. But here's where I draw the line. That was the parents' job to correct immediately. Immediately. That it never should have happened. Okay? You never should have let one child hear that they might not make it without telling them face to face that that's what's going to happen. And I'm sorry, at 23 years old, this child knows now that that's not what happened, and probably resents the child instead of the parents, where that should be focused, right? I would think if you're going to have to resent somebody, it should be the parents. But that was not the message that he got as he was growing up, because he survived, right? They should have reassured him, processed that fear, and made it crystal clear that Eli was not some backup plan. Instead, it sounds like that insecurity was allowed to grow unchecked, and now you've got a grown man still operating out of childhood fear and a 12-year-old paying the emotional price. Therapy? Oh, absolutely. Mason needs it. Eli needs it. Mom and dad definitely need it. And sister, OP, original poster, you're probably going to need it too. Because this is a hot mess. And honestly, if the parents don't, because that's where it should start, with the parents in therapy, understanding why this has hurt their children and why they should be there in the first place and why they should be bringing their children with them and explaining, so that everybody can understand, because this is not a one-person family, right? This is not a parent family. This is children involved, and they deserve the truth, especially at 23. So as for they don't deserve kids, I don't even go for that far, but I will say this. If they don't fix this dynamic, those Thanksgiving tables are going to get real empty real fast. Real fast. All right, this is what we're going to do for this next story, because it's a little bit longer and I wanted to take our time on it. That's the first story. For this one, I am going to read you the story. I'm going to take my little break because that's how I roll. And when I come back, there's an update. And then we'll talk about it before we roll out of here, okay? I hope that's all right with you. Sorry, guys, I still have to take my break so I don't ruin this terrible granny voice I got going over here. But, here I am doing the deed every day, trying to every day anyway. Alrighty, hold up. Let me get this, because it did not do what it was supposed to. Of course. And yay, I've got it now. Forgive me. You can tell I've been sick. My voice is a little off, but I'm here. All right, let's start with this next story. Now, am I the a-hole for revealing my sister's truth to a family member that made everyone lose their poop on their fork? I guess everything is forked instead of, I tried to change all the words with ChatGPT, okay, and ChatGPT just forked me. I totally said that out loud, didn't I? Anyway, okay, let's get into this story anyway. And it was supposed to say poop, lose their poop on my parents and her. All right, she, 40 female, has been ignoring me, 21 male, for 5 months since finding out that Ava is not my sister. She is my biological mom, and after finding this out, my whole life's been a freaking mess. Oh, I believe that. My parents pretended to be my parents because from what they told me, it was better that way for everyone since Ava wasn't ready to be a mom. Yeah, I've been wanting to hear her side ever since, but she decided to block me. my parents have talked to her because Ava wants to drop this and not bring this to her husband. Oh, we're that far gone. That's not good. They live in another state, so they're not close at all. But she basically didn't want this getting to her husband. I kept asking her to please just sit down with me one time to hear her side. But she's been silent ever since. Why I'm asking if I'm an a-hole is because the other weekend, me and my cousin had beers at his house. Me being drunk as poop, I started crying about everything going on. He asked me what's wrong, and I told him everything. Ruh-roh. That's what happens when you drink. That's why I don't. I got a big mouth already, y'all. You know that. Okay, so poop blew up. I got to stop using ChatGPT to edit with. Oh, I'm trying to save time, and it's just... now I've got to save embarrassment. Poop blew up. Nobody in my family knew about this. He texted his mom that night, or that same night. Next morning, I'm waking up to everyone blowing up my phone, even my parents too. Now everybody is in the family knows, and they've even reached out to Ava on my behalf, telling her if I want to talk to her, then she owes me at least that. Oh, this whole thing couldn't be kept a secret from her husband. He knows now too. Because she called my parents crying because they had a big fight. He's so mad. He's staying at his parents. She's saying it's my fault now for not letting it go. And now it seems, wow. Now it seems like everything in her life is falling apart, including my parents, because everyone's coming down on them too for lying this whole time, as they should be. Sorry. I know none of that would have happened if it hadn't been for me saying something, but also feel that after being the one who got lied to, I was owed some answers too. Am I the a-hole? All right, this one is layered, but no, you're not the a-hole. Not at all. You were the last person in this situation who chose chaos. You didn't plot this. You didn't expose it out of revenge. You were drunk, overwhelmed, and grieving the fact that your entire identity had just been flipped upside down. Let's not minimize that, okay? You found out that the woman you thought was your sister is actually your mother. Your parents lied to you your whole entire life. And then when you asked for a conversation to understand your own story, you were blocked. Blocked. Like you were an inconvenience. So when you broke down and told your cousin, that wasn't manipulation. That was a human being cracking under pressure, okay? Now, let's talk about responsibility. Everyone is acting like you detonated a bomb, but the bomb was built 21 years ago. The lie existed long before you said a word. Secrets this big don't explode because one person talks. They explode because they were never dealt with properly, okay, in the first place. Ava made the choice not to tell her husband. Your parents made the choice to raise you under a false narrative, a lie. Those were adult decisions. You were the only person in this situation who didn't get a vote. And I need to say this clearly, okay? You were owed the truth. You were owed a conversation and the dignity of understanding your own origin story. When Ava decided she wanted to drop it and keep it from her husband, that might have protected her comfort, and the husband acted just fine if you ask me. But it did nothing for your closure. She doesn't get to say, let's move on, when you're the one who just had your foundation shaken. No. Now, did the fallout get messy? I mean, obviously it was going to. Absolutely. Her husband finding out the fight, the family blowing up, that's painful. But that's the consequences of keeping something this big in the dark. That's not the consequence of being born. It's not your job to protect a narrative that was built without your consent. You didn't go on a campaign, okay? You didn't post it publicly. You confided in one family member while you were emotional. The fact that it spread says more about how fragile the secret was than about your intentions. I also want to acknowledge the guilt you're feeling. And, your cousin could have been quiet too. But, of course, you feel like it's your fault because you were the last domino. But you didn't create the line of dominoes. You were just standing there when they fell. The adults, plural, very many, in this situation made long-term decisions about other people's lives and hoped the truth would stay buried forever. That is not realistic in today's world. DNA tests, they exist. Family members talk. Secrets don't stay quiet forever. So no, you are not the a-hole for wanting answers about your own life. You're not. You're not the villain for breaking down after being lied to for 2 decades. I mean, you don't even know who your father is at this point. The mess you're seeing now isn't because you spoke. It's because the truth was always unstable. And if everything falls apart because the truth came out, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have said it. It means the foundation was never solid to begin with. It's true. All right, we do have an update. I'm going to come back with that after a little break. Y'all get into this song. You know I love it. I'll be right back.
She came from the quiet storms, built a fire from the ground, turned a whisper to a warning. Now her voice shakes the town. Every setback was a lesson. Every doubt became a key, unlocking something bigger. That's the rise of Boss B. When the lights go low, her vision hits high. She built a whole damn network off a promise and a try. Every sunrise, every moment, she's stacking legacy. This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's the queen of the comeback, the storm in the stream, crafting stories out of heartbeats, making visions out of dreams. Got thunder in the hustle, got a voice that cuts clean. Every mic she touches turns the power unseen. So let brother spin the numbers, let the views rise slow or fast. Boss B doesn't measure wins by echoes of the past. This moment is a pivot, this season's history. Bow down to the founder of the BBTV dynasty. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's got fire in the head, it's got truth in the frame, got a heart that won't retire and a gift you can't name. Every loop, every letter, every dream she sets free, it's a love note to the world sign. Boss B. And the world keeps watching as the numbers climb, but she's counting all the moments, not the dollar signs. From the late night grind to the daylight scene, she's building something bigger than the algorithm's dream. boss be rising, BBTV shining, her stories rewriting, a legacy in real time. Boss be rising, BBTV's igniting, turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dreams, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss be rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. BBTV, where the stories breathe. BBTV, where the dreamers believe. Boss be rising, watch her take her place. This is BBTV, this is her grace.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Now we got the update ahead. How's that? Let me get that thing up here. Number 9. There we go. Update. All right. Well, mods didn't allow this update on AITA subs, so just going to post it here on my account. Poop has really gotten so crazy since this post. I actually needed some time to get my head right. I appreciate everyone saying this was my truth to tell and being really supportive of everything going on. Amen. I told my family to back off on Ava because even if they thought they had good intentions, defending me it still wasn't okay. My cousin also apologized too. That's a good thing. So the craziness that happened, Ava's soon going to be ex-husband literally flew over here to talk in person, telling me he thinks he's my dad. Oh. He told me about what him and Ava talked about when he left. Thing is, they were a couple before I was born. Broke up because he was going to be going to college far. Then years later, they met again and so on. I never knew this. That is a big update. There's still more. He didn't connect the dots because who would? But since he learned she's my mom and she went this far to hide it, he wanted to know for sure. We both cried after doing a paternity test that came back positive. Aha. We didn't talk for a day. After I went through another whole existential crisis for days, we met again. He told me he's sorry for not knowing because he would have taken responsibility of me if Ava didn't want that. Then we both cried together again. I finally talked with her too once this was all out. She was the one who reached me, so don't say I bullied her into it. Nobody is, and there wouldn't be. I hope. So her truth was she wasn't ready to be a single mom. My grandparents supported her terminating. At least they were honest about that. But she changed her mind and didn't tell him. She never thought she'd see him again anyways. Ava's not my favorite. I'm sorry. Ava's not my favorite. There's a little more. By the time they met and restarted their relationship, it was already a few years since she gave me to my grandparents. So to her, there wasn't a point for him to know anymore. That's not good. Also, because she knew he was going to want custody if he knew I'm his son. And she moved on from the thought of having kids. Their relationship wouldn't have survived, basically. He's so mad at her because he had a right to be in my life. Amen. It's just a mess. I'm mad, hurt. They kept us from knowing about this. Now, she says she's sorry. But after learning how far this lie went, I can't with any of them right now. I can understand that. To her or my grandparents, it's too much. I know they keep reaching out to apologize for everything, but it's too painful. Small bright side. Me and him are talking. That is not a small bright side. That is a great big bright side. It was weird as uh, as fork. As weird as hell at first, but we are getting more used to it. He knows me since I was like 9. I know he's a good guy. Just never thought he was my biological dad. And he really seems like he wants us to be closer than before. I can tell it hurts him too when he's looking at me. So for now, we're trying to go with the flow. Going to be needing serious therapy after this. Amen to that too. There's so much going on in my head, but at least I got something. See, there's a good, oh, okay, I like how that ended. At least he's got something, right? That is amazing. Amazing. So this update it goes from messy to life altering, like, 0 to 60 here. First of all, I need to say this clearly. You're not responsible for the fact that your biological father didn't know you existed. That was a decision made by adults long before you had a voice. I barely had a heartbeat. The fact that this man flew across states because he thought he might be your dad tells me everything about his character. That is not a man trying to run from responsibility. That is a man trying to step into it 21 years late. The paternity test coming back positive. Of course, you went into an existential crisis. Your identity has been reshuffled twice now. Twice. First, you lose the sister narrative. Then you gain a father who you never knew was yours. That is a psychological earthquake, if you ask me. And I love my earthquakes. Now, let's talk about Ava for a minute. I'm going to do my best to be nice. Her explanation makes emotional sense from a young, scared perspective, right? Not being ready to be a single mom, feeling pressure, making a decision in survival mode. That's human. Pardon me. But here's where it crosses into damage. She took away his right to know, and she took away your right to be known. When she reconnected with him later and still chose not to tell him, that wasn't fear anymore. That was control. She decided what everyone else could handle without giving them a choice. Okay. And that's the common thread here. The adults made permanent decisions based on temporary fear. Your biological father being angry makes sense too. He lost 21 years he didn't even know were his to lose. That's not something you just brush off. So, yes, it's a mess. It's emotional fallout layered on top of old lies. But none of this is happening because you talked. It's happening because the truth finally surfaced. Now, I actually respect that you told your family to back off, Ava. That shows a lot of maturity. You're not trying to punish her. You just wanted answers. And the fact that she reached out to you when everything was out in the open tells me she knew she couldn't hide anymore. That conversation was inevitable. Your anger right now, valid. Your hurt, absolutely valid. The distance, you're taking, also valid. When trust has been fractured this deeply, you don't just snap back into normal. You need space. You need therapy. You need time to figure out who you are outside of the story you were handed. Twice. But here's the small bright side that you mentioned, okay? And it matters. You and your biological father are talking. It was weird at first. Of course it was. Of course it was. But it's becoming something real now. There is something powerful about building a relationship from honesty instead of secrecy. He didn't run, he showed up. That counts. So, no, you're not the a hole for any of this. You were a kid who was lied to. Then you were an adult who asked for the truth. Everything that followed was the ripple effect of choices you didn't make. Now you get to choose to decide what kind of relationship you want moving forward with him, with her, Ava, with your grandparents. And that decision gets to be all yours. That is important. That is, I mean, I can't think of a better outcome if this is going to be a mess anyway, right? That's important. All right. So we had some comments. Let's see here. Oh goodness. Growing up, there was a girl on my street whose sister, 16 years older than her, had actually given birth to her. But everybody knew, and she was very matter of fact about it. My sister used to be my mom, but she decided to be my sister instead because she wasn't grown up yet. Wow, is how she explained it when we were like 6. So I assumed that's how her parents explained it to her. Her parents were a little older than most, but it was also kind of cool. They retired and got to spend a lot more time with her than those of us with younger parents. There you go. Actually, really, I love this comment so much, okay? Because it proves something that really important here, okay? That's that the situation itself isn't what causes damage. It's the secrecy around it. In that example, everybody knew. There was no dramatic reveal, no identity crisis at 21, no family explosion. The child grew up understanding her story in an age appropriate way. So it never became shameful or destabilizing. When something is normalized from the beginning, it doesn't carry the same emotional weight. It just becomes part of who you are. That's the difference here. This whole situation blew up not because of the biology, but because of the hiding. When you build a family on truth, even complicated truth, kids adapt. When you got to give them a little more credit. They're smarter than that. Okay? They see more than you think they do. They hear more than you want them to. When you build on it, silence and hope, it never surfaces. That's when the shock factor hits hardest. So this comment really highlights that honesty early on, and it protects everyone's long term, right? All right, we have another one here. See, this is how you should do it. Let the child know from a very young age in an age appropriate way. Ideally, the child would have no memory of finding out. Absolutely. This is exactly the point. When you tell a child the truth in an age appropriate way from the beginning, there is no dramatic finding out moment. That's the hardest part, right? There's no identity whiplash, no whiplash of any kind because you've got this, right? There's no sense that your whole life was staged. Sorry, my throat's still pretty dry. So it's become part of your normal, right? And that's not great. Kids can handle complicated realities way better than adults give them credit for, as long as it's delivered with stability and consistency. The damage usually isn't the truth itself, it's the shock of discovering that the people you trusted withheld something foundational. If this had been handled early, if the story had grown up with him instead of being dropped on him at 21, This would have been uncomfortable, maybe, but not catastrophic like it is. So I agree completely. The healthiest version of these situations is when the truth is layered in gradually. So you don't have to tell them everything all at once and, overwhelm them. And you know how kids get. They need to know these things in pieces. So there's a single moment that doesn't shatter everything, right? Okay, another comment. My parents adopted my sister when she was 3 days old. My mom told her that day she was adopted and kept telling her. She said that way it would never be a shock to her. Perfect. I mean, sure, okay, the day she was adopted, 3 days old. But you're still talking to this child, trying to give her her story without making it something it's not. And that is so important. This right here is the blueprint, if you ask me. When you make the truth part of this child's foundation from day one, it doesn't become a bomb later. It becomes normal. And that's what they need growing up. It becomes less fragile. That mom understood something really important. The shock is that wounds, it wounds people. That's what shock does. Not the adaptation, not the biology, but the moment of realizing something huge was kept from you. By repeating the truth over time, she removed the element of betrayal. There was no big reveal, no identity crisis, no sense of who am I. That kind of transparency, it builds trust instead of fear. And that's what was missing in the story we just read. The adults chose comfort over clarity. And now the fallout is bigger than it ever needed to be. One more. Okay. This is the way. My parents did the same thing, and it was never an issue. I worry with today's advances in genetics testing and whatnot that many kids will find out the truth the hard way, though. Like Ancestry.com. I mean, in this new show they've got on TV, right? Do you really know who you are, or whatever it is? It's scary. A lot of people have been finding out things they don't want to know, too. No, I don't watch it regularly, but it is kind of crazy. So this comment is absolutely right. And honestly, it's the modern reality check nobody can ignore anymore. With DNA tests, ancestry kits, medical records being so accessible, secrets like this don't stay buried. It's not 1985. You cannot build a family narrative on silence and expect technology not to expose it eventually. When kids find out through a test result instead of a conversation, that's when it feels cold and destabilizing. It's not just, oh, that's interesting. It's, why didn't anyone tell me? So yes, this is the way. Transparency early protects trust later. The truth might feel uncomfortable in the short term, but it prevents the kind of emotional explosion that we just saw. Families can survive complicated beginnings. What they struggle to survive is the betrayal, right? All right, y'all. That was kind of crazy, right? I mean, wow. So that's where I'm going to leave this one today. Truthful Tuesday always hits a little deeper because we're not just talking about drama. We're talking about identity and family and what happens when the truth finally surfaces. So if today's stories resonated with you, I want you to sit with that, okay? Think about where honesty might need to happen in your own life. And think about how you can protect yourself without blowing everything up. That balance matters. Now, I want to see you back here tomorrow because we are keeping this momentum going, of course. And it is What the Fork Wednesday, you guys. We've got another episode lined up, and you already know we don't do surface level conversations around here. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, we've got Grow and Glow Academy again, and this one's practical. We are teaching you step by step how to use YouTube Studio to edit a video using a short that I'm going to make up No fluff, no overwhelm, just real tools that you can apply immediately, that you don't have to pay for. Okay. If you've been wanting to get more comfortable inside YouTube Studio, tomorrow night is for you. So make sure you set your reminder, pull up a chair, and come ready to learn, because me and Big Jack, we got this going on now. Now stick around, because we're heading into the promos real quick. You know, I got to do my shout outs and everything. And you guys go see them. Get over there to Iron Sharpening Iron Universe if you're not there yet. Get over to BBTV if you're not there yet. And definitely get over to Tuber Chat, because they are the best. All righty. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow. You make sure and hit that like button for me before you go. And definitely subscribe. Don't forget, memberships are back. Bye, guys. Buzz you later.
I want to take a minute to shout out Tuber Chat. If you're a creator who's tired of surface level advice, and actually wants to understand how YouTube works, that's the space. It's real conversations with real creators who are in the trenches, building channels, testing ideas. No posturing, no gatekeeping, no fake guru energy, just people sharing what's working, what isn't, and why.
If you're serious about growing, learning, and not doing this alone, check out Tuber Chat. The link is in the description. If you're enjoying this show, subscribing is the easiest way to support what's being built here on BBTV. You'll see the join button right next to subscribe. No pressure, no expectations, just an option for people who want to support the channel in a real way. We're live every day at 3 p.m. Central now. And don't worry, we didn't change the heat, just the clock. And if you've got a story you want to share, send it in. Anonymous is always fine.